Hey guys, Matthew here, and today I have a very special video for you guys. This is going to be most certainly the only harvest guide you will ever need for the current state of harvest. There's a lot to talk about, so honestly, let's just get right into it because we're going to be here for a while. Now, as always, there is going to be a text version of this video in the comment section, and I highly recommend you check that out because honestly, if I was to go over every single thing that I have to talk about, and that's listed in this guide, I would be here for like an hour. So obviously check that out, feel free, documents there, it's public, and you're going to get tremendous amount of value from that. All right, anyways, let's get right into the video. So first off, I wanted to talk about basically harvest. So in the guide I mentioned how to get harvest. Now honestly, the only real good way to get harvest is to pay the 12 chaos on your map device. Now that's not a cheap price to pay every single map, but I really do think, as somebody who's done it quite a bit at this point on my fresh account, right, my Headhunter project, I'm up to 78x. As you can see, I've also got plenty of other exalts and other items that are left for sale. Got plenty of exalts in maps and all that other stuff. And I've been pilling, I wouldn't say casually, but I've skipped a lot of days since I started the project, and I've been going very, very chill. Like, the goal of this was to really take it chill, take it slow, and as you can see, we're basically done. Now 80x is a far stretch from the 120 or so that we need for the Headhunter, but we've got easily over 20 exalt on the character, and as I said, like way more in other items. So yeah, essentially we're done, and most of it, if not the entirety of it, right, was done through harvest. The most expensive item that I got in the entirety of my challenge, if you want to call it that, was a 2 exalt level 4 in power from the Trial Master. That's it. I dropped a single exalt on my way to level 94.5, and I've died probably like 500 times, so realistically I should probably be somewhere like level 97, 98, 99. I really don't know. But anyways, that's not what this video is about. All that I wanted to say essentially is that harvest 12 chaos is absolutely okay, and you should be willing to pay that price. Now, if you don't want to pay that price, or if you want to take advantage of other strategies that are up in Haewark Hamlet, because of course that's where we're talking about, there's the Grove's Call, which will give you 10% additional chance on top of your 8%, so you'd basically see harvest about every 5 maps, which is not the worst. Now there's also a sextant, which I honestly don't recommend. I just put it in the guide because I wanted to be as transparent as possible. Then I went on and talked about where you should farm harvest on the Atlas. I spoke a little bit about Lex Proxima. I really don't think Lex Proxima is a good region. The only thing that's good in Lex Proxima is Heart of the Grove, where harvest bosses and areas always drop a Sacred Blossom, which is worth about 2 exalt right now, which is pretty awesome. The only problem is, in all of the playtime that I've had so far, in the entirety of this account, I have found a single T4 seed. They are extremely rare. Now, I'm not taking advantage of, any of the Watchstone modifiers because I really don't think they're worth it. Multiplying a 0 by 1,000 is still 0. Now, I know this is a meme, but in reality, that's kind of how it feels like. You could double the chance, but if your chance is 0.01%, you're not going to feel it at all, and, you're going to waste a bunch of currency getting there. So I really think that it's all about Haewark Hamlet, not necessarily because of the nodes in Haewark Hamlet either. I don't think they're super great. Wild Fruit, 100% increased chance for T4 seed. Like I said, I've seen one, and I have this. Or Nature's Favor, plants harvested are more likely to give less common crafting options. Also not exactly something that I think is very worthwhile. I have gotten a total of 0 augments and 0 sort of remove non-add X or anything like that in the entirety of my playtime either. It's almost like they don't exist. But the reason why Haewark Hamlet is because of the other strategies that I've already mentioned, and some new ones, which this guide was supposed to be just about harvest, but it turned out it's going to be about harvest, essence, and ritual. Now I'm going to skip the entirety of essence and ritual for this video because we're going to be here long enough already. But as always, it's going to be as part of the text document, so you can check that out. But why Haewark Hamlet? You get focused investigation for, way more additional Jund missions, which is really nice. You also get intelligence gathering, so you can actually farm safe houses and XP without actually having to run Jund missions, which is a massive advantage because right now the meta is all about Katarina. Then I also wrote an entire guide about essences and how to take advantage of essences, the mods that you can roll on watchstones and all that. And I also wrote an entire guide about rituals. So if you're interested in those guides, essence farming is pretty much kind of like an all-can-go strategy, very cheap, very low investment, decent returns. Meanwhile, ritual is more for the people with a lot of currency who are trying to get multiple times that amount of currency, because it's going to be high investment but massive returns from rituals. Again, the entirety of the guide is going to be there. Now let's talk about the real good stuff, which is basically Harvest itself. Sorry about the notifications, by the way. So let's talk about Harvest itself and how to squeeze every penny out of those 12 chaos that you're invested. Now, the issue with that, right, is that if I go into a Harvest right now and I kill a plant and I don't have all of this stuff ready to go, I would have to leave my map, go buy X item or whatever, and then come back into my map and do it. And while maybe I'll make 20 or 30 or 40 chaos profit off of that, it required me to literally leave my map and do this trade and come back, and now I can make my 20, 30, 40C profit. The idea behind this guide is to make sure that you guys have all the items that you need ready to go in your stash, just waiting for you to, well, do your harvests, right? Get in the grove, clear that stuff up, and then, figure out what crafts you're going to be using. But the idea is that you want to have all of the components for every single one of these recipes, if you want to call them that, from Harvest, right at the tip of your fingers. So I wrote an extensive guide on everything that you need to be buying. I also included some links to some of these items in order to buy them in bulk, in order to look at the prices difference and all that. I tried to be, as extensive as possible in the information that I was giving out here. So there's a lot, like, let's just put it that way. There are, I believe, 34 different crafts that come from Harvest, and about half of them require you to have some items on hand, or at least sitting in your stash, in order to really take advantage of it. For example, let me just take a random one here. Upgrade the tier of an essence. Right? If you didn't have the essences ready for this, or let's say you have some essences ready for this, but not the best possible essences, maybe you throw in like a random screaming essence, which is worth a chaos, and now all of a sudden you upgrade it to a shrieking, which is worth 3 chaos. Well, cool, right? You made 2 chaos profit, but realistically what you could do instead, right, is you could have purchased, let me see. You could have purchased a Shrieking Essence of Contempt for 3 chaos, and you could easily buy like 5 or 10 of these so that you're ready to go. And then whenever you turn this into a Deafening Essence, you would make a total of 10 chaos profit every single time you get this craft. Now, this is not crazy, but think about it this way. You're paying 12C for the map device. You're going to get multiple of a bunch of these every single map. It adds up very, very quickly. I think a lot of people think of Harvest as like the crafting strategy, the crafting method now, right? Because that's what we're used to. But the way to make the really like big juicer amount of currency now is actually not in those reforges and those crafting. Don't worry though, I'll get to that in a second. It's actually mostly as part of this. I know of a guy who's been making about 60 to 80x a day with Harvest, just because of these, right? Mostly because of these. Now, of course, the reforges are not completely wasted. Whenever you do get augments, they have a lot of value. There's a lot of other things, but the vast majority of his currency and the consistent currency gains is from all of this list. So again, I can't go through every single one of these for the sake of the length of the video, but if I was to take another one, for example, change a scarab to another scarab of the same rarity. All right, cool. Well, let's have a look at that, for example. If you were to get this on your grove, change the scarab into another scarab of the same rarity. If I looked at winged scarab here, you'll see that I could buy easily just like some torment scarab and some shaper scarab for less than 10 chaos, and then I go ahead and throw it in there, and if I get a winged scarab, I just made 70 chaos. If I get a winged reliquary scarab, I just made 600 times my currency. 600% more currency is what I meant to say. Like, I'm making some pretty decent profit, and there's a lot of these. There's a lot of the cheap ones, and there's a lot of the pretty expensive ones. So your odds are not all that bad. And even if you fall on the middle ones, right, over time, as you start stockpiling these 30 chaos ones, you actually start being able to sell them in bulk. And instead of getting that 30 chaos, you can get, you know, more like 40 chaos. And the 40 chaos ones, you get 50 chaos. And the 50, you know, and it just keeps scaling that way. So that's why these crafts, even if a lot of people overlook them, they're actually extremely powerful. Now, of course, I don't want to spend the entirety of the video talking about that. What most people are interested in is, of course, going to be the reforges. So again, I've made a list of all the different things that you should be using when it comes to your reforges, but I didn't leave it to that. I went a step further and I actually included links so that you guys could buy the exact base that you need, right? And the reason why I actually went ahead and did that, oh, looks like you guys are going to have to do corrupted no. The reason why I added this link to the bases is because yesterday I was really heartbroken on stream. I was linked a large, or maybe it was a medium, yeah, it was a large fire damage cluster from a viewer, and it was the 3 best notables, which should have been worth around something like 15 Exile. But the thing is, the guy had used a 9 passive large cluster, and just because it had that 1 extra passive, the value of it was literally not even more than a couple Exiles. He lost like 500, 600, 700% of his profit due to the value of his item, pretty much just due to the fact that it had 1 extra passive. So I went ahead and included links to every single one of the bases that I'm talking about. Now there's some that I actually didn't include bases because they don't have any specific bases. So for example, when I'm talking about physical weapons, right, it could be so many different things. So for those really broad ones, I didn't include anything like that, but otherwise all of the other ones I have included them. And I tried to really put as many of the ones that I know as possible. Of course, there may be some missing. You know, I don't have an all-seeing eye. There's probably some people who are making bank off some that are not listed in this list, but this is what I was able to come up with. I've been working on this all day, so I really hope you guys appreciate the time that I put into this and, you know, go out and make the best out of the 12 Chaos map device, which is Harvest. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned a little something. Before I go, though, as always, I want to say massive thank you to my supporters: Flame Scorpion, Richard, Willie, Alex, Jordan, Emil, Raymond, Tim, Scott, Lots with the Mac, Grimore, Nathaniel, Kremis, Justin, Kevin, the other Justin, So Nice, Axel, Mercury, and Bizen. And that'll be Matthew signing out until the next one. Peace.